Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new series called Black Wellbeing, in which I talk with inspirational leaders in the Black community around the world on the topic of Black well-being, what it takes to be a soul living in a Black body and be well and live well in that body. Today, I'm excited to start this series off with someone that I initially met through Facebook. And as I was looking at her post and watching her videos and reading her stuff, I knew I had to sit and share space with this woman and talk about all things blackness, all things spirituality, and all things well being. And I'm so glad to start that with her today. Her name is Monique Ruffin. Monique is a life coach, a writer, an astrologer, and a surfer. And just someone who has a wealth of that type of knowledge where you're just in yourself and your beingness speaks. She's one of those people for me. And so I want to speak to her about Black well-being and just share space. So welcome, Monique. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me. And I'm so excited to be with you today.
So I want to just jump right in because there was a post you wrote, I think for the Huffington Post, not too long ago, Black as a spiritual path or Blackness as a path. And I just the title alone, I had to sit before I even opened it up and read it. I had to sit with that. And because it just hit so many points in my energy of truth that Black was a spiritual path. And I knew I just wanted to jump right in there with you today. The idea of Black as a spiritual path. Because I know for many of us in Black skin, it very much, for many people I talk to at least, it feels like a curse and not a path into awakening or spiritual connection. So you made so many juicy points on that, but I just wanted to first, just the whole idea of Blackness as a spiritual path. Where did that come from for you?
Well, I have been recently in a community of people who, the majority of them are queer, and the majority of them are Black. And so there have been lots of conversations around the systems that are in place in this country that are designed, or as a result of them being in place, hinder the experience of Black people, like exclude Black people from the resources and the upward mobility of progress towards wealth, education, arts, all of those sort of ideas. So I've been in spaces where there have been a lot of conversations about that. And it's all very intellectual because these are really smart people. I mean, professors and students and people who are prominent in the queer community and prominent in some of the organizations like Black Lives Matters. And I listen and I learn so much from these mostly young people. I mean, brilliant young people. And what I miss from them, what I don't hear, is the conversation around the heart of the matter. Like there's so much analyzing and picking things apart and understanding history and creating stories and narratives around how we move forward. But I don't hear anyone really talking about the heart of the matter, the spirit of it, and what it means to be a Black person in this country, and how that has the capacity, the ability to enhance our spirituality. And what that looks like for me is because I've studied many spiritual tools. So I've been a Christian, and I've been a Buddhist, and I've studied Islam, and I've studied a little bit of Hinduism, and I study paganism and Egyptology. Like I just love understanding metaphysics and spirituality. And what I have discovered is that in most religions or spiritual practices, there is definitely an understanding that life is difficult, that that life has obstacles and challenges is what I'll say it that way. Not that it's difficult generally, but that it is filled with the light and the dark. And so I have been on this journey for myself, probably all my life, of course, but I remember when I was 3, sort of taking it on as a real thing, as a 3-year-old, though, of course, which I actually believe I was much clearer than I am now. And then, many, many times in that lifetime, just coming back to it, right? And what I have discovered is that the obstacles that the reality of the world offers in the progression of what it means to be a Black person in this country can be seen as spiritual opportunities to grow, as opportunities to make ourselves stronger, to become more self-actualized, to love ourselves more deeply, to absolutely consider what it means to be a participant in this experience as a Black American, not as a victim, that I actually co-create this reality, and that my ancestors co-created this reality, and that this is the, sort of like the obstacle course for my life that is designed in service to my evolution and growth, and not like it's here to harm me. It's actually here to benefit me. And that's just a mind switch. That's just telling myself a new story about what it means to be Black. Because I inherited stories that said that if you were Black in this country, you were unfortunate. Like you said earlier, it's a curse. Everyone's against you. You won't get ahead. Like, those are all just narratives. They're not necessarily the truth. And at one point I was studying Buddhism, Nichiren Buddhism, when you chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, what Tina Turner chants. She made it famous in that movie, what had to do with it. And the most profound thing about that Nichiren Buddhism for me was that they celebrate obstacles. They celebrate obstacles. They literally say, "Oh my God, you lost your job! Yay! This is going to be so good. You're going to grow, and this is going to help you. This is going to," they have this metaphor that a lotus becomes its most beautiful and white depending on how dirty the water is. So the dirtier the water, the more contaminated it is, the filthier it is, the more beauty that lotus will produce. So what if that's true for me as a Black person? That the more I struggle, the more obstacles that are in my path, the more I overcome an obstacle, the more I'm willing to look at something and say, okay, how do I master this? Rather than looking at it and saying, why is this happening to me? The more beautiful I become.
I want to dive in with that because, you as an astrologer and a student of metaphysics will love this aspect. One of the biggest awakenings for me that really shifted my journey, as an intuitive and as someone, so as an intuitive, I have some of the psychic gifts. And one of my gifts particularly looks like I can literally see and hear the soul. I can see it. And so I can speak to people's souls and gain the perspective of it. And there was one experience I had where the soul told me very clearly that everything that we are, when we come into this particular human experience, we choose. It's a conscious choice, and that the soul never chooses anything from anything other than a space of joy. So that the Blackness that I am was a conscious choice from the higher aspect of me, and it wanted it. It wasn't like a kind of default or like something it's going to deal with. It wanted that, and it wanted it because of the perspective that particular experience would offer it, and the challenges that that perspective would bring, because that would shape its ability to evolve in a
Yeah.
way that it really wanted to evolve. And
Yeah.
so when I got that, it just was kind of, it was almost like just shackles were taken off my being. Just like you were saying, it was about like, wow, this is a holy intention
Yeah.
for me to be black. And that all that my blackness brings is serving me.
Yeah. Yes. There is nothing truer. And I, as an American who is black and a black woman, and I have many peers in my life who are not black. And I have gone through phases where I have envied them because they seemingly have it easier or seemingly have it all together. And then I started being in very intimate spaces with white women where we tell the truth about ourselves, tell the truth about our lives, and realize that, white people are losing their houses just like black people lose their houses. It's like there is not a script for what it means to be black as opposed to what it means to be white. But I noticed that there might be greater access or more resources or more structure in their family, possibly. But what I have also noticed is that when I'm in these circles with women who are white, and I am often the only black woman, they look to me for my strength. And not in a way that's stereotypical about being a strong black woman, but in a way that really, where they see my soul and they see that I know how to overcome an obstacle. They see that I don't have to have a life, an experience, and that it doesn't define the totality of who I am. They see me do that. They see me expand beyond the circumstances and into a new reality. They watch me do it. And so they trust that in me. And so when things are going on in their lives, they come to me and they ask me on so many, can you hold the space? Can you hold it? Because I know how to do it. And I'm not saying that they don't know how to do it. But what I am saying is that my life has given me, from the time of my birth, one thing after the next, one thing after the next. I can look back over and see a slew of victories that I have had. Or because of people supporting me, or because of my own divine experiences, or because of my own mind and heart, or whatever it is, or because of my community. But I know how to transform. I know how to do it. And I feel like that is one of the incredible gifts of being a black person in this country, if we use it that way.
What you just said is so beautiful, and I want to sit in that, because there is something, somebody even said this to me today. Someone commented in the video that I did, and I was talking about purpose and how one of the greatest gifts that we have to give to the world is the wisdom we gain out of the healing of our wounds. Mm-hmm. And the person responded and said, you can't put out fires if you've never been in one. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the greatest gifts, and I think every single ethnicity, every single gender, every single kind of, if you look at a collective of people, that collective each has a gift to bring to the planet in some way. And I think the black community, especially the American black community, there is some beautiful wisdom we have to give to humanity out of how to put out fires, how to get your worthiness in spaces where that worthiness is not offered to you, like how to generate your own worthiness. And just that idea that we have, that the very makeup of your being is offering you a chance, just like you said, if you lean into it, it's offering you a chance to gain a higher wisdom and a higher gift to serve humanity with.
Yeah.
And I don't know of many places where black peoples are spoken to in that manner. Like,
Right.
your blackness is literally a gift to humanity when you lean into
Yes. Ooh, that is so powerful. It's so powerful because it's a switch in the brain. It's a switch in the brain because I mean the narrative that we hear in the media around blackness and oftentimes even in our communities about how painful and how difficult and you know the deaths and the illness, the percentages, right? Black people have a greater percentage to have heart stroke. Black people have a greater percentage of stroke. Black people have a greater percentage, all of that sort of stuff. Like all those stories are would give you would can make somebody depressed, right? Like I remember a couple of years ago went to the doctor and I had a lump on my breast and it was a cyst, not a lump, but a cyst, and they were so I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna see what this is and I'm not gonna make any choices right away. And the doctors were so insistent on me doing something right away. Why? Because you're black. And when you're a black woman, the rates of breast cancer being such and such and such. And I mean, so there's always this urgency, right? Like there's this hurry up and fix it. Like there's this idea that everything is broken because, we are at greater risk than others for most everything. That's the story. But if we do spiritual practice, like I just believe that the spiritual practice is the place where everything can be reconciled. And I mean, for me, it's come to like, it started with me asking myself when I was young, like, is what my father says about being black true? Is it true? Is it true that, black people can't catch a break and, the man is out to get you because you're black and white people are only good for this? And is that true? And I started to question that, and that was the beginning of my path as a black person being my spiritual journey, because I had to take my father's words, who was a leader in my life, and recognize that his experience was not necessarily my experience. And he's teaching me something based on his reality, not my reality. And so what that means is that I get to create a different reality, which is a spiritual perspective. I can create a new reality that is not my father's reality. Bless his reality. Bless his choices. Bless the experience that he was born into. And that is not my experience. And so I'm going to determine for myself what blackness means for me. And that is the opportunity that we have as we move into a great time that we're in right now. People don't call it this, but it's a great time of healing. It's a great time of seeing what's really out there and then determining how we are going to perceive that experience, and then based upon that make choices around it that will, if we're intentional, that will evolve us and grow us. And so it's a mighty work. But you're right, the planet needs us to do it. The planet needs us, and every person on the planet.
Let's dive right there, because as we explore, hold on 1 second. Let me make sure. I think I'm hearing some reverb. 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that got any better. Can you hear me better? Is there static?
It's fine. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as we talk about, the current political climate we're in, and we look at, some of the things that are happening in our society and in our culture, like police brutality and images of black people dying left and right. How do you, as a black person, a black woman in America, in your black skin, how do you center yourself in well-being?
It's very deliberate. I'll say that, start there. So first of all, I do not watch videos of Black people being killed or anybody being killed for that matter. I just don't, because it traumatizes me. And I understand the nature of my psyche and that I absorb energy. Everyone is not as empathic as the next person. I tend to be pretty empathic. Like, I notice when I'm watching TV and if there's something stressful on TV that my jaws are clenched because I'm responding to the stress of what's going on TV in my body. So for me, well-being means that I protect my peace and my sanity and my joy, and so that looks, various ways. It looks like my spiritual practice, which is my meditation. I do chanting. I'm an astrologer, which it really just connects me to the heavens. Like, I understand that not only am I this person, but there's an energy field that connects me to everything. I understand that. Astrology helps me understand that. I chant sometimes. I have a prayer partner. Like, my life is about my spiritual practice. My work is so that I can do my spiritual practice. Because I feel like, I like to use the metaphor of like you putting a dirty pot beneath running water and you just let it run and it just finally runs clean. So I always have the water running inside of me so it can stay clean as much as possible. So I don't, like I said, I don't watch videos of people being murdered. And I don't really engage in many conversations about it either. I know what's happening, but on social media, when there's all the outrage, and I get it, I really do. But I understand that if I'm focusing my attention there, then that's actually what I'm creating. And because I'm a mother of a Black son, I don't want to generate that fear inside of me that then will spill out into my relationship with my child. I don't perpetuate ideas of Black limitation. Because Black, like I'm gonna get pulled over because I'm Black. So when I'm pulled over by a cop, I'm mindful that I pulled over because I did something wrong. Like, I take responsibility for my life and my choices, and so I behave in a manner that is relative to the choices and to my own experiences, and that means take responsibility and not being a victim. So I'm constantly reminding myself of that. And then there are things that do come up for me. I don't want to act like things don't come up. Like I wrote a piece called "I'm So Tired of Whiteness." And because I noticed that there are ways that we practice racism as Black people in our bodies and minds that are a part of the construct of racism. So it's not about a one-on-one experience with a white person. It really is about an idea that we have embodied. So something as simple as, if your hair is straight and curly, it's pretty hair or good hair, right? These are the ways that we have embodied white racism. If your skin is lighter, then you are pretty or you are cute. But if you're dark, you're not. So I'm beginning to notice the ways that I think about race and reject those thoughts in my mind, because I've been practicing it for so long. I was born into this experience. We all were born into this experience. And so these ideas and racial constructs live inside of us. And it's like fish to water. You don't even know that you're doing it. You don't know that you're thinking it. You don't know that you're looking at somebody saying, "Oh, your hair is good." And you don't understand where that comes from. That comes from racism. So I'm beginning to undo those things in my mind, in my thoughts, in my way of being. For years, I really prized light skin, and in my piece I talk about being in a yoga class where it was a hot yoga class. Most people don't have tops on. I mean, you're covered, but a lot of skin shows. And being in a room full of 65 people and probably 3 people were Black, and noticing like, wow, I've been told all my life that white skin is beautiful and that Black skin is not. But my skin looks fucking gorgeous. What? Who lied about, like, And if I have to compare it, I'll choose this any day if that's what the call is, right? Because all my life I've been told that's the preference. Well, I'm discovering that that's actually not my preference. I like how my hair stands up. I like how full my lips are. I like the shape of my body. I like my blackness. And so it has taken me a lot of time to reprogram myself to understand that those thoughts and behaviors and things that we said as children to other children, that's conditioning. Mm-hmm. And it's my responsibility to undo that.
Yeah, so you touched on something for me that I haven't really shared this with anybody. But this was an awareness that I got when around the time with all the police brutality stuff going on, and why I didn't, people would ask me about, did you see the video? I was like, no, I'm not watching that. I don't watch that. And initially my response was because I know energy and I know how we create. And I know thoughts create and what we focus on continually creates. So that was my first response. I want to be very clear. I want to keep what's in my consciousness clear. And I don't want trauma in my consciousness because I will create trauma for myself.
Yes.
But something else happened for me. I had another awareness about a month ago, specifically about, and this is where I love this topic of blackness as a spiritual path, about how blackness was the experience that taught me about oneness. And that because when I see another black person on the street, it's a head up, it's those traditional things that we do. It's the nod, or if I'm in a room where, I may be the only black person, I'm looking for another black person, and we may not have anything in common but skin color. But if I see you, I feel connected to you, right? And I not just connected to you, your skin, but I care about your well-being. And I want you to be, there's something that I feel your well-being is connected to mine in some way. And I have this aha, like, oh my God, that's oneness. That's the experience of oneness. And what I realized was that I cannot afford to watch another black person be brutalized or murdered because in my consciousness, I don't separate that person from me.
Ooh, yes. Yes.
So if I'm watching that, I'm not just emotionally experiencing trauma, which I am, even in ways that I may not understand and have words for, but I am energetically creating the same outcome for my life.
Right. Yes.
And it goes back to not just that, but it goes back to, again, shining that light on how blackness is also my teacher in oneness.
Ooh! It's so good. That's good. That is so good. And it just reminds me of when we were children growing up, or when I was a child, how if something happened in the news, the first thing we wanted to know was, did a black person do that? Did a black person do that?
That's the first question in every black household. Were they black?
Right. Were they black? Isn't that amazing? And that is that experience of oneness. Because if they were black, then it identified something about ourselves as well. And so if it was a negative thing that they did or a positive thing, we absolutely had an experience of identifying, of connecting, of experiencing oneness in it. And I recall that for years we've done that. I don't do it as much anymore because I became aware of it one day. I was like, ah!
Yeah, because it's it's that double-edged. It has its benefits, but also you also want your unique experience as well. Right. You want your individualized experience, which your soul incarnated for.
Right.
But yeah, that was just it was a huge aha for me. Of wow, yeah, I chose this because this was the vehicle that I would understand this more.
Isn't that something? And here's the other thing for me when you talk about I chose this. So this year I started working with a medicine man, a shaman, doing plant medicine, and my grandmother raised me because my parents were young and irresponsible. And so my grandmother was older when I went to live with her. She was probably like 56 or 57, which isn't old today, but back in 1973, that was old because she was born in 1921, and just the what she had come through kind of made her old, right? And so I was on my own a lot as a child, and spent a lot of time being angry about that because I felt like I wasn't parented. I didn't have a mother. I didn't have any of that. And one of the, I mean, I had a mother, but I didn't have anyone mothering me in that way. But I realized that that experience really made me, or gave me, the opportunity to rely more on the divine. Because I didn't have a physical person constantly meeting my needs. And so I learned how to cultivate a relationship with spirit really early. One of the reasons is because that's the gift that my grandmother gave me. She was a Christian, and she taught me that, Jesus was the way. And I transformed that language as an adult. But as a child, it really did keep me. It really gave me a sense of connection and protection that I could rely upon. And I feel like that has been one of my gifts. That's been one of the spiritual gifts, or the spiritual practices of Blackness, is understanding that I am directly connected to the divine. I am one with Source, and that there is nothing that has greater power in my life. There is, I don't know if you know Chance the Rapper. I recently got a him, right? And my son is just like crazy about him. And he has this one song where he says, the world's best thing is not near to God's anything. The world's best thing is not near to God's anything. And every time I hear it, even though it's like surrounded by a whole bunch of dun dun dun, I'm like, that is so true. That the world's best thing cannot meet God. And as much as I don't practice Christianity today, or even I don't even read the Bible in the way that I was raised to do. But that phrase is timeless, and it's outside of any sort of religious construct because it lives inside of me. And so if the world's best thing can't match God's anything, then that's true about me as a Black person.
So, reaching kind of the closing point, and I think that's such a beautiful point to wrap that section up with. Since this show is called Black Wellbeing, what does Black Wellbeing mean to you?
Wow, that's such a beautiful question. What does Black Wellbeing mean to me? It means taking responsibility for my life and understanding that I am not at the effect of anything but my thoughts and what I choose to entertain in my mind and in my life. That I can direct the force of my energy to anything I desire. And Black wellness is ultimately about responsibility and my connection to spirit, to understand that I can overcome anything that's set in my path. And I'm designed to do that. I am designed to overcome. I'm designed to transmute. I'm designed to be magical. I'm designed to be an alchemist. I'm designed to be wise, right? I'm designed this way. And this design was the first design that ever touched the planet. That's this right here. Blackness. The first design of a human being. And I carry that DNA inside of me.
Macaroni and cheese or greens?
Macaroni and cheese! I'm on a fast right now, so actually greens too. I'm on to that. So, okay. For spring.
Favorite thing your grandmother said to you?
Tata. Tata, money. Tata. It was the way she said thank you to me when I was a little girl. Tata.
And if you had one thing you would like at the end of your days, you have one thing you want the whole Black community to know for their well-being, what would that be?
Wow. That we are loved and lovable and loving. I mean, that sounds so simple, right? But it is everything.
Indeed.
Yeah. I mean, the whole world takes everything we create and makes, masterpieces out of it. So we're loved.
Exactly.
Right.
Such a beautiful part to end on. Monique, thank you so much for this time. This was beyond the juice that I was expecting and all the juice that I needed. Thank you. As all of you are watching, I hope you really got some great stuff from her. You can check out how to connect with her further and read some of her work or work with her at some of the links below this video. Until next time, much, much love, peace, well-being, and all the light we deserve. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.